Tensions in the Middle East have been at an all-time high. The ongoing war in Gaza between Israel and Hamas has led to thousands of deaths, international protest, and political pressure on world leaders to take action. And now, Donald Trump has entered the conversation with some of the most shocking statements we've heard yet. From suggesting that the U.S. take over Gaza to cutting ties with the United Nations, Trump's latest press conference is making headlines everywhere. Whether you support him or think he's gone too far, you'll want to hear this.
I also strongly believe that the Gaza Strip, which has been a symbol of death and destruction for so many decades and so bad for the people anywhere near it, and especially those who live there, and frankly, who's been really very unlucky. It's been very unlucky. It's been an unlucky place for a long time. Being in its presence just has not been good, and it should not go through a process of rebuilding and occupation by the same people that have really stood there and fought for it and lived there and died there.
Here are Trump's latest developments. Number 10, the U.S. should take over Gaza. In what might be his most controversial statement yet, Trump proposed that the United States should take long-term control of Gaza. He described a vision of rebuilding the war-torn region into a prosperous area, even calling it the Riviera of the Middle East. Now, here's the issue. Under international law, a U.S. occupation of Gaza would likely be illegal without Palestinian or Israeli consent. Critics say that this plan completely ignores Palestinian sovereignty and the complexities of this conflict. But Trump supporters argued that the strong U.S. leadership could help stabilize the region. Number 9, the relocation of 2 million Palestinians. Trump didn't just stop at a U.S. takeover. He also suggested relocating nearly 2 million Palestinians to neighboring countries like Egypt and Jordan. The problem? Both of these countries have repeatedly refused to accept a large number of refugees. Displacing a large portion of a population is controversial, but Trump claims it's a necessary step for long-term peace. Supporters say that this would end Hamas's control over Gaza, while opponents call it ethnic cleansing. What's your take?
Palestinians are returning to the demolished neighborhoods in northern Gaza. As you can see there, images, really moving images, captured.
Number 8. The United Nations isn't well run. Trump took a jab at the United Nations, saying it, quote, isn't well run, but has potential. If this sounds familiar, it's because Trump has a long history of clashing with the United Nations, even pulling the United States out of multiple agencies during his presidency. But this time, his word came with actions. Number 7. The U.S. is leaving the UN Human Rights Council. Trump announced that the U.S. is officially withdrawing from the UN Human Rights Council. He claims the organization is corrupt, biased against Israel, and ineffective in protecting real human rights. Critics, however, say this move isolates the U.S. from global discussions on human rights and gives more power to countries with poor human rights records. Number 6. No more money for Palestinian relief. Trump also extended a funding freeze on the UNRWA, the UN agency that provides food, education, and medical aid to Palestinian refugees. Trump states that this organization just uses the money for their own benefit and that the money has been misused and that other countries should take responsibility instead. Some believe cutting off funds could pressure Palestinian leadership to negotiate peace, while others argue it will only worsen the humanitarian crisis. Number 5. A review of UNESCO. Trump also ordered a review of the United Nations Cultural Agency, UNESCO, which oversees World Heritage Sites and international education programs. If this sounds familiar, it's because he already pulled the U.S. out of UNESCO once before in 2017, citing anti-Israel bias. Now, it looks like he's preparing for another showdown. Number 4. Doug Collins confirmed as VA Secretary. Back to domestic politics. Trump celebrated the Senate's confirmation of Doug Collins as the new Secretary of Veteran Affairs. Collins, a former congressman and longtime Trump ally, now oversees the healthcare and benefits of millions of veterans. However, opponents argue that he lacks the experience needed to manage such a massive department. Number 3. RFK Jr. moves closer to becoming health secretary. In a decision made by Trump, RFK Jr. is one step closer to being confirmed as health secretary. RFK Jr. is well known for his skepticism of vaccines, which has raised concerns among medical experts. Some see this as a win for medical freedom, while others worry about the future of public health policies. Number 2. Pam Bondi confirmed as Attorney General. Trump's former legal advisor, Pam Bondi, has officially been confirmed as the Attorney General. She's a strong supporter of Trump's policies, but critics feared that she will prioritize political loyalty over justice. And finally, at number 1, the fallout from Trump's press conference. After a press conference from February 4th, one thing is clear: Trump is doubling down on his controversial policies. Whether it's his stance on Gaza, the UN, or his cabinet picks, his latest moves are shaking up both US politics and international relations. Now for the pros and cons. What does this mean? Trump supporters argue that his bold approach is necessary for real change. His Gaza plan, if successful, could bring economic prosperity to the region. Cutting ties with the UN could also mean the US stops funding organizations that he believes are corrupt or ineffective. His cabinet picks, while controversial, are all loyal to Trump, meaning that his policies will likely be carried out with intense resistance. And for the cons. On the flip side, many experts warn that Trump's Gaza takeover idea is not only unrealistic, but also illegal under international law. The forced relocation of Palestinians could also spark a large humanitarian crisis. His decision to pull out of the United Nations Human Rights Council and cut Palestinian aid could further isolate the United States from international diplomacy. As for his new cabinet members, critics say that they lack experience and could create more political division than solutions. Trump's recent developments left us with some of the most shocking statements in recent history. His vision for Gaza, his clashes with the UN, and his new government appointments will have major consequences in the coming months. Love him or hate him, one thing is certain: Trump is making moves that will define his legacy. So what do you think? Is Trump making strategic decisions, or is this all just political chaos? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on the biggest political events. See you next time on Tenor.